And I go to Fishers High School. I'm about to be a junior. I know. I'm getting old.
I'm not sure how you got older and we're still the same age.
Yeah,
there you go.
I know.
Junior! That can't be right.
I know. I don't believe it either.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
gosh. Oh wow. Okay. All right.
And I'm in show choir. That's pretty fun. It's about to be my second year, so really exciting. And that's what I like to do. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna start getting into it, I guess. So I have two books I'm gonna be sharing from today. The first one is Good Poems by Garrison Keillor. It's a collection of poetry.
Mhm.
The next one is probably my favorite poetry book I own, called The Day Is Ready for You, which is a collection of poems written by Allison Malie. And then I have some of my own poetry I'll be sharing later.
Can I ask a question? When did you start writing poetry?
I've been writing it for a long time. I wrote like song lyrics when I was little that I never
Okay.
really put to music, but
Yeah.
I wrote most of this starting in like early last year.
Okay.
So
Okay. So it's something you've always sort of messed around
Oh,
with
yeah.
a little bit. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
okay, so I'll start with the Garrison Keillor poems. Alrighty, so the first one I have for you guys today is called At Least by Raymond Carver. And I like this poem because it's really simple, yet it conveys a message that a lot of people can relate to. It talks about wanting to be a morning person and waking up early and experiencing things you wouldn't usually if you slept in. And I found it really funny because I'm a morning person and I wake up at like 6 a.m. And yeah, exactly, I'm glad you can relate. And it's just funny how night owls see the morning. They always like romanticize it, like, oh, it's beautiful and glorious. And I'm just like, it's kind of boring and quiet.
See, that's me. I'm the night owl.
Same here.
If I get up early, I get a lot more done.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah,
morning.
that night.
That's my favorite part of the day.
It is very calm and,
Yeah.
and serene.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was really cool to see it from somebody else's perspective. So this is At Least by Raymond Carver. I want to get up early one more morning, before sunrise, before the birds even. I want to throw cold water on my face and be at my work table when the sky lightens and smoke begins to rise from the chimneys of the other houses. I want to see the waves break on this rocky beach, not just hear them break as I did all night in my sleep. I want to see again the ships that pass through the strait from every seafaring country in the world, old dirty freighters just barely moving along, and the swift new cargo vessels painted every color under the sun that cut the waters as they pass. I want to keep an eye out for them, and for the little boat that plies the water between the ships, and the pilot station near the lighthouse. I want to see them take a man off the ship and put another up on board. I want to spend the day watching this happen and reach my own conclusions. I hate to seem greedy, I have so much to be thankful for already, but I want to get up early one more morning at least, and go to my place with some coffee and wait, just wait to see what's going to happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the next poem I have is called Another Spring by Kenneth Rexroth. And this poem talks about nature heavily, and as you'll notice through like a lot of the poems I selected and wrote, I like to write about nature, and I like poetry about nature. And I just love the way that he finds beauty in every single aspect of it, and he also incorporates love in nature, which I think is, really cool because they kind of go hand in hand. So, this is Another Spring by Kenneth Rexroth. The seasons revolve and the years change with no assistance or supervision. The moon, without taking thought, moves in its cycle, full, crescent, and full. The white moon enters the heart of the river. The air is drugged with azalea blossoms. Deep in the night, a pine cone falls. Our campfire dies out in the empty mountains. The sharp stars flicker in the tremulous branches. The lake is black, bottomless in the crystalline night. High in the sky, the northern crown is cut in half by the dim summit of a snow peak. O heart, heart so singularly instringent and corruptible, here we lie entranced by the starlit water, in moments that should each last forever, slide unconsciously by us like water. Okay, so the next one is a bit longer. It's called Summer Storm by Dana Gioia. I looked up how to pronounce these names and they didn't have anything on Google, so we're just going to wing it. And this poem discusses fleeting moments of love and intimacy, and it also explores questions we all ask ourselves, like, what if I did this? What if I, well, not me personally, but what if I married this other person? Or what if I chose a different path in life? So I thought it was really cool and something we could all relate to. So this is Summer Storm. We stood on the rented patio while the party went on inside. You knew the groom from college, I was a friend of the bride. We hugged the brownstone wall behind us to keep our dress clothes dry, and we watched the summer storm floodlit against the sky. The rain was like a waterfall of brilliant beaded light. Cool and silent as the stars, the storm hid from the night. To my surprise, you took my arm, a gesture you didn't explain, and we spoke in whispers, as if we too might imitate the rain. Then suddenly the storm receded as swiftly as it came. The doors behind us opened, the hostess called your name. I watched you merge into the group, aloof and yet polite. We didn't speak another word except to say goodnight. Why does that evening's memory return with this night's storm? A party 20 years ago, its disappointments warm. There are so many might-have-beens, what-ifs that won't stay buried. Other cities, other jobs, strangers we might have married. And memory insists on pining for places it never went, as if life would be happier just by being different.
Oh, very cool.
Isn't it?
I
So-
can really envision that one.
I know, really.
Yeah.
It's very good imagery. So this next one is called Lost by David Wagner. It's a bit shorter, and it's short but sweet in the sense that it discusses how you are never truly lost in nature if you really connect to it. So this is Lost by David Wagner. Stand still. The trees ahead and bushes beside you are not lost. Wherever you are called is here, and you must treat it as a powerful stranger, must ask permission to know it and be known. The forest breathes. Listen, it answers. I have made this place around you. If you leave it, you may come back again, saying here. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or a bush does is lost on you, you are surely lost. Stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. All right, and the last poem from this selection is called The Bare Arms of Trees, which is my favorite poem in this book. It's by John Tagliabue. Is that right?
Tagliabue. There was a baseball player. That's the only reason I know how to pronounce that.
Well, it's one way.
Or a football player, maybe.
Yeah, I think football.
Was it football?
I think it was football.
Okay. Maybe it's a coach.
I know the
Beats
name
me.
because it was so unique.
It was so
but I couldn't tell you the
unique.
sport.
Yeah, John
Tagliabue.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
he was a coach, actually.
He might have been a coach.
You know,
No, he might have been a,
Okay,
yeah, he
sorry.
might have been a basketball coach, I think.
Well,
Basketball coach.
you work on that.
Yeah, okay.
I'll figure it out. So, this poem talks about the deep emotions that nature brings out and a feeling of unity among mankind when you are in nature because we all came from it, you know, so it's just really special and I think it's really beautifully written. So, this is The Bare Arms of Trees. Sometimes when I see the bare arms of trees in the evening, I think of men who have died without love, of desolation and space between branch and branch. I think of immovable whiteness and lean coldness and fear, and the terrible longing between people stretched apart as these branches, and the cold space between. I think of the vastness and courage between this step and that step, of the yearning and fear of the meeting, of the terrible desire held apart. I think of the ocean of longing that moves between land, and between people, the space and ocean. The bare arms of the trees are immovable, without the play of leaves, without the sound of wind. I think of the unseen love and the unknown thoughts that exist between tree and tree, as I pass these things in the evening as I walk.
Very beautiful. It's very
Yeah.
nice.
A lot of thoughts.
Alrighty, so that's the first. You guys can take a look at it later if you like.
Very nice book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wrote it myself. So this, as I said earlier, is probably my favorite poetry book. It's called The Day Is Ready for You by Alison Malee, who, from minimal research, she seems to be mid-30s, late 20s young woman who has a family. She has a husband and several children. So I just really like the perspective she writes from because it's a bit more youthful than all like the classic poets and all that. So I obviously picked quite a few poems from her. All right, so this first poem is called Will Be. And this poem kind of explains pain and grief very well in a realistic way, in that it kind of comes in waves. It's not just a constant, I'm okay, I'm not okay. So this is Will Be. In this way, the undertow is only a metaphor for surviving. Do you understand? The currents only exist to explain grief. So when I tell you I am drowning, I mean that today the loss sits on my chest less like a paperweight and more like air turned carbon monoxide without warning. The earth spins consistently. Most days I'm ready for it, and when I breathe I am floating. The ocean swallow is a sometimes, it moves quickly. But see the sun through the rippling water. The light, it is close. Do you understand? Do you understand now? I am telling you I have been injured by an unknown thing. Injured, but not conquered. I kick, I fling my arms through salt and crash. I fight my way to the surface. In this way, though I am not now, I will be fine.
Grief.
Oh, excuse me. So this next one is called Alone, and this poem discusses feelings of loneliness and desperation after heartbreak. And it is sad and, a little too relatable for a lot of us, I'm sure. So this is Alone. I look for you between time-thickened shadows, in the one open window, beneath moth-bitten lace, at the outskirts of town, in the deep end of the public pool, at the country club somewhere in the midst of dollar signs and Titan skin. I empty the ocean, peel sand from the fins of every beast. I try to gargle salt for you, to see if you exist between molecules. But you do not raise your hand or speak, or pull yourself from the inside of a thrift store baseball cap. So I write you instead. I write you into morning eyes, sleep hazy in the corners, into froth and sip and burnt tongues, into honey-coated berries ripe from nothing, into some meadow high and above it all, flowers pungent as they weave between breaths, breaths humid and silent as they brush against wax petals. Most days I write you into things that disappear. Sometimes I write you into concrete. I am either not alone or impossibly. Nothing lingers. All right. So the next poem is called Wanting. And this poem is about love and also the human instinct to always wonder about things and just human curiosity in general. So this is Wanting. The sky in its dark, brooding midnight black stretches out before us like a spool of twine unwinding around the stars. And when the day is quiet, when we think no one is looking, we reach up our arms like maybe we can grasp just a strand or two, like maybe we too can be something bigger. What is it about humans that always leaves us wanting? We wonder what it's like up there in the clouds, in the endlessness, if being so high up makes breathing easier or harder, if we will ever find out what it's like to fly, and if we do, will we spin around and around the moon like giddy kids, or will we hover and contemplate what we left behind? But then we find some other thing to grab our attention. We are such flighty birds, such utter romantics. We will kiss each other on open mouths and breathe promises into existence, and when we fall asleep we will both dream about the white feathered backs of wings.
Yeah.
So this next one is called Temporary, and this one, I don't know why, it just really spoke to me. It's kind of about, the existential crises we all have about oblivion and how we can try to be remembered by those we've touched in our lives. So this is Temporary. Gravity never quite drew blood from us. We spin, dizzy. We keep our feet running, not away, only forward. They say we are only dreamers, but in dreams we become something more, don't we? We joke that we are limitless, but we mean it. We have decided on freedom. And so it isn't that we know nothing of staying. It is just that we believe in casting a wide enough net to touch everything, even if only temporary. The next poem I have is called Empty Space, and it's quite vague in that I think it can mean different things to different people. And it's kind of about holding on to something toxic just because you want control over something in your life. So this is Empty Space. You told me you can either be bitten or swallowed by love, but I had already tucked away my heart like loose strands of hair behind cold ears. I was already open-mouthed and screaming. You said, let it go. You said, when you hold air in your lungs like a crawl space in the attic, soon enough it is bound to be more kidnapping than inhale. But a shovel makes the same sound burying you alive as it does setting you free, does it not? Maybe I was just making a bad habit out of romanticizing pain. Sometimes love ends. I suppose it did not have to stay, owed me nothing, had no prior obligations here. You said let it go, and I have tried, but even with all the blood, why would I want to go from holding the weapon to clutching empty space? Alrighty, so my next poem is, I think, like my second favorite that I'm going to be reading today. It's called The Living, and this poem is simple in that it is easy to understand the message, and the message is that love makes life worth living. So, this is The Living. We don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I stopped when we met, when you discovered me like an answered prayer, one I had been palms together and knees bruised for. I could never tell if it was yours or mine, but I am not sure that it ever really mattered. We were both doing fine before, if fine is a concise way of saying we were dying just as slowly as everyone else, getting by on the kind of love that disappears by dawn. And we did get by, just not in the way we wanted to. We had not yet decided to stay here, hadn't made up our minds about living yet, hadn't decided if the sweat and tears and breathing and breathing and breathing made us desire more or less. But now all I think about is your heartbeat, and your 10 miles per hour laugh, and your mouth, how it opens on mine like something blooming, how I so very much like being alive, and how it is nice, the staying, the living, the loving.
Very nice.
So this next one is called Too Little, and this poem compares love to art in a beautiful and exciting way that really makes you just want to leave your mark on the world through love. So this is Too Little. Concept. We color each other with graceful precision. You wear lilac and I will wear chartreuse like a dripping badge of honor. Let's leave stains on the carpet and remember that, even slathered in brush strokes, in heavy and too little, we are immaculate. Even if we exist as nothing more today than two bursting hearts connected by painted limbs. We are as open as the sky, as swirling and dark and brilliant. We can go on living despite it all. Just look at how vibrantly we have breathed today, in this one afternoon. Imagine a lifetime. So the second last poem I have from this book is called Exhales, In this poem, like a couple before, talks about oblivion and existential crises, believing that we are really small in the universe, but this poem kind of puts those thoughts at ease, your anxieties at ease. So this is Exhales. From a distance, everything pales and shrinks, does it not? Even love, even the greatest love, even grief, even loss, even the backs of our eyelids as we drift and sleep. Think of the moon, how we must appear so small, so fragile, so insignificant. But how up close we are a whole universe expanding in tiny, tiny exhales. Truthfully, I will tell you again and again, in some small way, everything matters.
Mm.
Alright, so the last poem I will read from this book is a little bit longer. It's called Is It the Growing Up? And this poem simply talks about growing old and preventing yourself from becoming dull as you grow old.
Okay, we're gonna listen to this.
We can all take notes.
All right.
So this is It the Growing Up? Concept. The sun sets and the sky looks like raspberries. We reach up and take one from a bush, bursting and juicy. The clouds touch our fingers shyly and we laugh and laugh until our stomachs hurt in the best way. Concept. We are becoming dull with age. I tell you about the raspberries and you tell me we are too old to believe in magic. I ask, is it the growing up that leaves us empty? You stay silent. The next morning there is a note on the counter. Fear, it says. Fear. I wonder how much courage it took to write it down. Concept. A home in which fear is an invite-only guest, and we do not send an invitation, we do not even throw a party. Concept. The day ends and you barge into our bedroom, yell and yell, grab my arm, chase me out into the night. You say, look at the sky. It is all cranberry and red. Look, see how the wind grows strawberries? See the fields, how they breathe on indefinitely? And Lord, the look on your face, it is breathtaking. Your mouth twisting up in joy. Concept. We eat from the vine. The stars wink their little eyes at us. The moon listens as we weave her a story. Nothing stills until dawn. Concept. We stay here forever. Fear does not reach us in this place. It is only our front yard, but it is wild. It is brimful with dreams. It is an accomplishment to grow and still believe. It is magic. It is ours in the best way. It is ours. That's one I really like.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm going to read my own stuff, which is fun.
Ella, slow down a little bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're such a good reader. That's the problem sometimes.
Okay, thank
Right?
you.
Yes, you're
All right,
welcome.
I'll take note of that. Okay, so I like to write about nature, like I said before. So all the nature ones are kind of grouped in the beginning. So this first one is called Sunset.
Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Do you write the poems and then put them on the computer, or do you write on the computer?
It just depends. Most of
Okay.
these I wrote on the computer, but a couple
Okay.
of them I did write down first and then type them, then print them.
Could you also tell us how old you were when you wrote them?
I think just most of these I was probably 14, starting from the age of 14.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Hopefully we're not messing up the rhythm here.
No, you're
Asking
fine.
questions,
You're fine.
Okay.
I love it. So.
Okay, good.
So this first one is called Sunset, and it's very feel good. It's about nature, and I take a lot of sunset pictures, as my grandma might know. I share a lot of them with her, and I just love sunsets. Sometimes when I'm stressed or anything, I go out in my backyard. I just watch the sunset. It just really calms me down. So this is kind of about that, just glorifying sunsets and how much I love them. So this is Sunset. I see it every day. It's the gateway to the night, but I never cease to say, what a beautiful sight. A picture doesn't do it justice, all the shades of red. I use it as a compass when I get lost in my head. It's crazy how fast it fades, how quickly it gives into the night. The clouds cut through like blades, and the moon takes over the bright.